Inventing this impossible algorithm. And as I interviewed them, I realized that I don't understand a word they're saying. They're all brilliant. How am I going to pick the smartest one to be the co-founder of Shazam? And then I had this idea. I'm not going to pick them. I'm going to get Professor Julia Smith from Stanford to pick them. So we made Professor Julia Smith from Stanford an advisor to Shazam. Professor Julia from Stanford was the PhD in electrical engineering in the department of Center for Computer Research in Music and Acoustics. Professor Julia Smith had invented the algorithm that you hear in all Yamaha synthesizers around the world. Professor Julia Smith had previously been the head of audio technologies, reporting directly to Steve Jobs at Next Computer. Professor Julia Smith had been hired by the U.S. military to detect submarines under the water using only sound. And so we made him an advisor, and we said, okay, we found these 30 names of PhDs around the world that have published papers in audio signal processing, music and acoustics. Here are the actual notes from that meeting. And Professor Julia Smith, can you please rank the 5 smartest people on our list of 30 names? Here's the actual notes, in case you want to hire a PhD in audio signal processing. The number 1 rank was Avery Wang, and he joined as the 4th co-founder of Shazam. Avery has 4 degrees from Stanford in mathematics, electrical engineering, audio signal processing, computational neuroscience. But one problem happened. Once he joined Shazam, he also said it's impossible. Now, you're probably thinking, look, what's so hard about it? You just push a button and identify a song. Why is this so hard? Why are all these professors and PhDs telling you this is impossible? Why? And here's the reason. You see, in pattern recognition, whether that's fingerprint recognition, eyeball recognition, voice recognition, in pattern recognition, when you combine 2 challenges at the same time, that's when it often becomes impossible. And those 2 challenges are noise and scale. So if you had to identify music with a database of only 1,000 songs, okay, yeah, you could probably have noise in the background. But if you have a database of millions of songs and noise, that's when it becomes impossible. I mean, imagine you're in an airport. You go, and you stand in front of that thing, it looks at your eyes, compares you to everyone in the world, says, yep, that's you who goes through it. Right? That's scale. There's a lot of people in the world. But notice you have to stand right in front of the camera. You can't just stand anywhere in the airport. That would be noise. So if I said to you, use your brains, do pattern recognition, find Tom Cruise in this picture, right? All the other people are the noise, and then you find Tom Cruise, right? Good job. Now do it here. That's noise and scale for your brain. So not only do we have to overcome noise, but also noise cancellation technologies that were built into mobile phones to emphasize the human voice and de-emphasize all other sounds, such as music. Audio filtering, where they would chop the top and the bottom of the spectrum off and only send over the cellular networks the portion that carries the human voice. Speed variation, where those DJs would change the speed of one of the songs so they can match the beats of the 2 songs on vinyl records. Pitch correction, where those DJs might be using digital CDs and they could change this pitch so it doesn't start to sound like the Chipmunks. And nonlinear transformation with the music. Reverberation, where you get these big echoey rooms. Sound distortion, where the speakers are poor quality. We have to overcome all those challenges. So to give you an example, I'm going to play for you 15 seconds of a song right now. And now I'm going to play that exact same 15 seconds of that exact same song as we recorded on a mobile phone in a bar. Now you can see why those professors and PhDs are saying, I'm sorry, Chris, it's going to be impossible. So for months we tried to do this. For months and months, Avery, our genius co-founder, worked to try to invent this technology with Julius at his side as an advisor. And frankly, he almost gave up, and there were times that he was going to come to me and say, Chris, I'm sorry, but your startup is just not going to work because I can't come up with an invention. Until one day, in June of 2000, he finally cracked the code. He came up with a novel invention, a breakthrough invention. It turned out to be the very first AI in history that became mass consumer. And what it was a pattern recognition with a 3-dimensional graph. of energy peaks or spectral peaks. It graphed both against time and also against frequencies. And then combinatorial hashing in order to make it a very fast search. That invention actually happened. Avery's breakthrough idea happened on the very same day that Coldplay released the very first song. Now that I listen to it over and over and over. So now we had this invention, we filed a patent, but we needed a bunch of money. We needed $7.5 million to build this business. And we were here in the UK and we started to pitch to venture capital firms, one after the other, and they just kept saying no. The dot-com bubble had just popped. No, no, no. We pitched over 100 venture capital firms. 100. They all would say no, no, no. I can still remember pitching to one big venture capital firm that you all know, but I won't say who. And I remember showing the demos of this venture capitalist of Shazam, and he said, I don't see why anyone would ever use that. And I remember thinking, I've got to prove this guy wrong. I've got to prove him wrong. Now, he did not invest in Shazam, but 3 venture capital firms did finally invest in Shazam, one of them being Richard Branson's Virgin Group's fund, Link Capital Partners. And so now we had money, and we could start building the business. And it turns out that the first thing you need if you're going to build a music recognition business is the music. And there was no Spotify, there was no iTunes, there was no Apple Music, there were not digital music databases that we could get to, right? So we had to create our own digital music database. Music was in the form of CDs, and we did not have the CDs. What are we going to do? And so I thought, I know. We went and we met with the biggest record store at the time on Oxford Street, Virgin Record Store, where we met the executives, and we said, our investor is Richard Branson. Can we have access to your CDs? And they said, no. We're like, oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And then we went to the biggest distributor of CDs that was an hour outside of London, and we met with those executives. I can still remember their grizzly gray beards. And we sat across from the table from them, and we said, the world is changing. The world is going to digital. Wouldn't it be great to have a digital copy of all that music? Because we can build it for you for free. And if you're thinking what I'm thinking, next thing you know, we had a partnership without exchanging a single dollar, creative persistence, a single dollar, where we partnered and we hired 30 18-year-olds to work in 3 8-hour shifts, 24 hours a day for 9 months, sitting outside this warehouse, going to the racks, picking the CDs, taking them over to computers, where we had written custom software by one of the software engineers right here in this room that allowed us to take the music and fingerprints off the CDs, and then they had to type the name of every song, every artist name, every album title, because that information does not reside on the CD, and build this database over 9 months, 24 hours a day. Creative persistence. Now, when I first came up with the idea for Shazam, I thought, oh, I'm going to build a music recognition business. But I'm not sure I realized that what I was creating was a search engine. Because, of course, you're not searching the web, you're searching all music. Every time someone identifies a song, we have to search all the music, right? And so we knew there was this other company that had started just 2 or 3 years before us called Google, and they were building a search engine. They had built a search engine. And we knew that they had pioneered, we heard they had pioneered this method called a Beowulf cluster to create a whole bunch of PCs into one giant supercomputer, okay? And so we thought, we actually got a tour of their facility with their search engine, and we thought, let's do the same thing. Let's build our own giant supercomputer. So we got a bunch of PCs, we wired them all together, and we wrote custom software to turn them into one giant supercomputer. Now, I don't know if anyone here might be thinking, yeah, but Google became a much more successful company than Shazam. But whose search engine is better looking? That was in spring 2002. So think about where we are. I mean, we're starting this business a year ahead of the iPod, let alone iTunes. There is no market for digital music. People didn't buy digital songs. We're starting this 7 years ahead of the iPhone, 8 years ahead of the iPhone App Store. So we actually had this beautiful PowerPoint presentation that we would show venture capitalists with our anticipation of what Shazam would become. We had no idea we're 8 years away from being able to do it. You'll be able to see a nice color picture of the album cover. We couldn't do that. You'll be able to read all the lyrics of the song. We couldn't do that. You'll be able to download the song to your phone. We couldn't do that. You'll be able to share it with a friend. There was no Twitter or Facebook. You'll be able to add it to a playlist. Playlist didn't exist. I mean, basically, you couldn't do any of this stuff. So the way Shazam launched in 2002, in summer of 2002, is that it was a phone number you dialed. A 4-digit phone number right here in the UK, 2580. You dial that number, it made a voice call into our interactive voice response system, IVR. Our IVR answered the phone and said, hold your phone to the music. You held your phone up in the air for 15 seconds, we recorded sound, you terminated the call, a split second later we sent you a text message with the name of the song, and that was Shazam. Pretty cool, huh? That was in the summer of 2002 when Mobius in the truck. And by the way, just to emphasize, getting that 2580 number from mobile operators, all 4 of the mobile operators, was phenomenally difficult. No private company had a 4-digit phone number. Not Domino's Pizza, not 1-800-Flowers, not British Airways. No one did. And here we were, the startup had to get this 4-digit number from Vodafone, O2, Orange, and T-Mobile. So creative persistence is to defy barriers, right? It's something that we all do, including myself, which is that we encounter a barrier or an obstacle, and we respect it like an authority, and we say, oh, it can't be done. And instead, you need to defy those barriers, come up with creative ways to get past them. Okay, so now in life, in our personal lives and in our professional lives, we all encounter problems, right? Sometimes those problems are small problems, and sometimes those problems are big problems. When they're big problems, I compare them to like a boulder, but can you always spot a boulder coming at you? To make our businesses successful, we need to eliminate friction. We need to make things simple. And when we look at Apple, we say, why is Apple so successful? It makes so much money and commands such high margins. Oh, it's because it's so simple. It eliminates friction. It makes these beautiful experiences, right? So we all know it. And yet, there's still so much friction in the world. I mean, the other day, I was trying to change the email address that my son uses for Minecraft, which you do on Microsoft.com. And I still have not succeeded. I mean, some things are just so difficult. And I thought, well, why is this? Why is it that we all know that we need to eliminate friction, and we have to go, I'll do it? Why is it? And I realized the answer. Here's the answer. What happens is if we see a piece of friction, like, oh, the consumer, they just have to click here, just one click. And we think it's just a little pebble. But actually, it's a boulder. So we think it's a pebble, but actually it's a boulder. So I define friction as things that you have to think or things that you have to do, right? So imagine that you are renewing your passport online. So it says, what is your national identity number? Oh, you have to know something. And then it says, take a picture of yourself and make sure there's a 1/4 inch to the left of your head, a 1/4 inch to the right of your head, 1/2 inch above your head, and a white background. You have to learn something. That's friction. And it says, do you want the regular passport service or the expedited passport service? You have to choose something. That's friction. It says your passport will be renewed in 4 to 12 weeks. You have to interpret something. That's friction. It says your passport might be ready in time for your international flight. Might be ready? Concern is friction. And then you have to initiate the process here. You have to register here. You have to input your last 3 home addresses. You have to wait this number of weeks. And if you want to know whether your passport's almost ready, you can log into the website and check the status. Monitoring is friction. See, what we need to do is we need to reduce effort for others, not for ourselves. So we have to move mountains to eliminate that friction, even if it looks like it's a pebble. So my great learning is when I joined Dropbox. Because when I joined Dropbox, they told me a story. They said, Chris, we are not the first cloud service. There were other companies so similar to us. There was xDrive and there was iDrive, and they also raised venture capital. And their service was almost identical to ours. It was a piece of software you downloaded to your computer, installed it. But the one difference is that with those services, when you wanted something in the cloud, you clicked one click, upload. And when you wanted it back in the cloud, you clicked one click, download. Okay? But those services got almost no users. And they said we did something different. We moved mountains to solve two very hard technical problems these MIT engineers that founded Dropbox. First, we solved hacking into the file and folder system of every operating system, of Mac, of PC, of Linux, so that we could make this little folder that has the Dropbox icon on it, and it looks like all the other folders, except the difference is that if you put a file into it, it goes into the cloud. And then it turns out that users might change the documents there. They might edit the Word document. They might edit the PowerPoint document. And so they say create synchronization, a really, really hard technical problem. In fact, so hard that even Google and Microsoft haven't done it. Because there's so many edge cases where synchronization can fail. You shut your computer, the Wi-Fi goes out right when you're synchronizing a document, and I'm sorry, it got corrupted and you've lost your work forever, right? Not acceptable. So they solve synchronization to make it robust and reliable. And by solving synchronization and hacking into this file and folder system, they made it so that anything you put into that folder was also in the cloud. If it was in the folder, it was in the cloud. There was no one-click upload. There was no one-click download. And they said to me, Chris, our predecessors had one click. We have 0 clicks. And the difference between 0 and 1 is infinite. I'll never forget that moment. The difference between 0 and 1 is infinite. And they were the first company to rocket to hundreds of millions of users because they had identified a pebble that was actually a boulder and they moved mountains to remove it. Now there's a part of the Shazam story that I left out. See, we had done everything. We invented the impossible algorithm, built this huge music database, got the 2580 number, built the search engine Beowulf cluster, launched, and we thought it was going to be this huge smashing success right here in the UK with our first launch. And it didn't happen. Has anyone here ever had a really, really bad year? How about 2 really, really bad years? Because we had 6 really, really bad years. 6 where we almost went bankrupt, running out of cash, barely surviving. 6 really bad years, because that's how long it was between when we launched in the summer of 2002 and when the App Store came out in 2008. 6 years of barely surviving. And you know what? It's all due to friction. Because think about it, you have to know something, right? 2580, you have to know something. It's not just an app on your phone. And then after you identify the song, if you want to own it, you have to drive in the car to the record store to show the text message to the clerk and say, I'd like to buy that CD. You can just click download. Talk about friction, right? And then you need to make money. There was no advertising model. The way we made money is we charged you 50 pence per recognition. But if you pay 50 pence every time you identify a song, that is friction. And it's only when the App Store changed everything that we finally suddenly rocketed into the millions of users. Today, over 300 million monthly active users. So think in your own businesses where there might be a pebble that is actually a boulder. Where is this piece of friction? Where is this piece of friction that you can remove? Maybe create a Shazam button-like experience in your own business. One button and boom, they get the answer. Eliminating friction is defy effort. Defy effort to look end to end in an experience, end to end, looking for that little piece of effort that's a pebble that is actually a boulder, and then moving mountains to remove it. Okay, so now imagine for a second that you're lucky enough to get a little plot of land out in the countryside, and then you think, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to build my own little dream house. Okay, your own little dream house. How will it be different building your own dream house?